So Joe Sultana, thanks for coming on the show.
Sultana. Oh, thanks for having me, Glenn.
And all the way out in the UK?
UK, yeah.
So what is it, 4 p.m. there?
It's, yeah, bang on, yeah. 1600 in military talk.
In 24-hour European times, 1600. Yeah, well, my dad and stepmother are expats. They live in Sweden now, and so I kind of have a grasp of like all the different time zones. But
yeah, mate, time zone is just beyond me.
Yeah, the time zones. Yeah, well, we have 4 just here in the States.
Crazy, isn't it?
So that's kind of like the tricky part. And that kind of forced, I guess that's always kind of forced me to keep a grasp on that, especially, with you, for example, knowing your time zone, trying to pick a decent time that works for you, works for me. I've had a lot of folks in California, which is 3 hours earlier than here, and all book a time, and then we all get confused, and they're like 3 hours late because they thought it was 1 p.m. their time, and it was 1 p.m. my time, and so that whole time, yeah. So
time travel.
Yeah. So rail quality manager, tell me.
All right, then. Right. So we all need to earn a living, and I've been in rail since 1989.
Okay.
So I just fell into the railway in the UK, and it's kept a roof over my head in various roles. Right at the moment, I'm looking at the quality and the assurance of all installations, safety, fire installations on London Rail. And what my role is to make sure it's safe for people to use. Simple as that. It's really boring.
So also filmmaker. So we
no, that's my first love. That's my first love.
Yeah. So give it a go. Give get go.
So let's start from the beginning. Several million years ago, I wrote a book, which I didn't expect to write. I wrote it, really genuinely fortunate to get it published. And it got picked up as a film from a couple of lads in Soho who just started their own business as film producers, and they wanted my book to be their first film. So we come to some arrangement, and they said, we need a script, so can you write it? I said, well, I've never written a script before, but then before this I never wrote a book before, so I learned how to quickly write a script, knocked it out. And then we started having discussions on how it was going to be filmed and everything else. Then they started to want changes. It's been a long learning curve from there. And I'm like, what do you mean changes? You purchased the novel as is to film it. In my naivety, I'm thinking, well, why would you want to change it? You bought that. Why? So we all sort of like fell out. And so the thing came back to me. So I decided, because I like to, as I said to you offline, I like to make my own opportunities. So I decided to set up my own sort of like production company and started to tout it around. And that takes years. That takes absolutely years and years.
Yeah.
And eventually it got to this point, which is about 8 years that I've been doing it. But in between, I've met some really nice people who advised me, who helped shape it and everything else. In between times, I started up a film festival in England. This is now in its 4th year. I don't have anything to do with that anymore because I'm concentrating on filmmaking. And I was very fortunate to get asked to join Get Go, which is a production company in Nottingham. And they do a lot of educational charity work with kids or not just kids really, but anybody who's going through a change or wants to get into the film industry, grassroots, back of screen rather than front of screen. So we're teaching them to become producers and cameramen and lighting engineers and all the crew really, or what goes on behind the screen, but nobody really concentrates on it. And some of these kids are wayward. They've lost their way, and we're trying to coach them back into society. Other kids are on the cusp of that, so they don't go away. And we've also got people, old timers like myself, who are changing careers really. What with redundancies going on and COVID. So so Give Get Go is a guy called Tony Klinger. Now Tony is a very experienced filmmaker globally. He's worked with The Who, Pink Floyd. He's worked with several big names, Roger Moore, Andy Quinn, Andy Quayle, that type of thing. His father, I don't know if you know the English version of this, he made a film, very, very important film called Get Carter, starring Michael Caine.
The original, yeah.
The original. So that's where he's come from. He learned to cut his teeth in filmmaking at the age of 16 on Get Carter, and he's made so many more. And me and him hooked up and become friends. So what he said was he took the script and rewrote it his way. He said, we're going to rewrite it. So we become co-writers, and we're in pre-production now. We're just hunting down finance and hope to be filming the sequel, and several other slates, several other films we've got on the slate of Give Get Go. And it goes from there really. So I'm really I've been really been lucky, and these guys have come on board and said, yeah, I'm up for it, I'm in for it. So
yeah,
that's
so
my story.
And that's hell yeah. So and your partner, who he was 16 and did what on Get Carter?
He started to, that's how he learned to produce. His dad was the producer of Get Carter.
Okay.
So he at 16 back in the 70s was sort of like learning how to do it all and everything else. He's 70 now, so
on set working with his dad on Get Carter.
Yeah. And so then he went off to America and did a load of things. He's worked on Gold. If you look at IMDb, Tony Klinger, you can see exactly what he's done. And so having that type of person behind me, shown faith in the project and encouraging me to do this, do that, and the other. We've gone on to bigger things as well. We're turning a lot of our slates into audio plays. So we've got 2 out already, which is Reaper's Shadow, Mile 1, and another one that we're just about to release. We can't talk about it just yet, but we're going to release it any time. Called Sweet Dreams as a comedy. We've got some other things going on. So yeah, it's again making your own opportunities.
So you mentioned you met him by you wrote a book.
Yeah. So what happened was, because of the film festival, we were giving out lifetime achievement awards, and Tony's name came out of the hat because he was his wife was local, he was full local, and although they moved away and everything else, so we thought it'd be a good salute for him because he's never had one. So I phoned him up, managed to get hold of him through his agent and everything else. I phoned him up, said, look, we're going to give you a lifetime achievement award, can you turn up? So he turned up for this festival, accepted it and everything else, and it was really good. And then through that, we become good friends, just talking and everything on a regular basis. And I think he decided, actually, I quite like Joe. He's, he works my way, and that's how we got together.
Oh yeah. So tell me about Reaper's Shadow.
Reaper's Shadow. Oh yeah, then. So it's set in a future England, a dystopian future England. So I'm going to go back to the original. Let's go back to the original.
I'm sold already, by the way. But okay, future England.
So England is on its own. London's been destroyed for an unnamed assailant, and there's no real why or how or anything like that. Always take into consideration this is set in the future. So London's been destroyed. England is now left alone. Scotland, Wales, and Cornwall have become their own countries. Yeah, that's it. So they've become their own countries, and with borders and everything else. And all that's left in England is the dregs of society. It's run. Each town and city is run by despots. who used to be the martial law, and they become corrupt. And so you know, power corrupts, and etc. 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 And so this starts off in a town called Lordston, which is a real town in Cornwall, on the border of Cornwall and Devon, and it's quite a famous town. Daphne du Maurier used it as Jamaica Inn in her book Jamaica Inn, and it's where the Royal Mail used to be. Sorry, the Royal Mint used to be. And there's some martyrism going on down there, Cold Puddle Martyrs. So it's quite a famous area. And the Romans couldn't get past it. They could not conquer Cornwall. And so they got to sort of like that area and then gave up, basically. So it's with this guy who is John Maitland, an engineer who's been employed to build a wall between England and Cornwall. And his payment is life in Cornwall, which is great. But the bad guy in it, Russell Latimer, wants him to build a secret wall, a secret tunnel, and he wouldn't do it. He's such a straight guy. He said, no, it's not going to happen. And through that, he gets punished by watching his wife and child just get killed and everything else in front of his eyes, literally in front of his eyes. And so he goes a bit mad. So he escapes somehow, and then for 18 years he goes around the country trying to get himself killed. He's got nothing to live for, and he's got a death wish. But every time he tries to kill himself, something happens that he gets saved or whatever, or it doesn't work. And so he goes into each town trying to find the bad guys in the hope that they can do the job for him. Because he's got no leverage, he's a nutter. He invariably wins. So he gets this reputation of being called the Reaper's Shadow, the Reaper.
Okay.
Sorry. And wherever his shadow is, death follows, that type of thing. And it's a bit like Robin Hood. So if you take Mad Max, Robin Hood, and a couple of other genre films, all amalgamated into one, it's quite a good story. We've twisted it. We've twisted it a bit. So with Tony's twist on it, he's taken it further into the future, and he's made it a lot darker and a lot more action in it. You know, whereas mine was character driven. Whilst this is still character driven, there's a lot more of what today's cinema audience wants. You know, so the plan is to film it not sort of like old-fashionedly with live effects rather than CGI, because I think CGI would really take away the atmosphere from it. So we're trying to make it gritty and you know, if you think of the Book of Eli, if you think of the original Mad Max, you know, that grainy, there was not too much CGI in it and everything else. So that's the type of thing we're going to go for, that type of look.
Yeah, those are great films. I'm a big fan of, especially the Mad Max, even the new one. They actually, you know, believe it or not, did their best to stay away from CGI. A lot of practical stunts, a lot of practical effects. But the original, I mean, nothing beats that original trilogy. I grew up with that, and the Book of Eli blew me away. Like double plot twist, you know. I loved it all. Book of Eli was stunning. I mean, I worked it out. I definitely worked it out at the very early stages. But I think you couldn't really not hype that, really. Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil it, because in case your listeners haven't seen it and want to see it.
No spoilers. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, how would you say you've been impacted by the current state of affairs last 10, 11 months?
Oh, it's been a killer. It's been a killer on all levels, you know. I had a small heart attack about 10, 11 years ago. So I have to really keep myself clear of this, you know. So whilst without being paranoid, I'm taking every practical step I can. I've been really fortunate in my day job that they're supporting me in that. But I'm working, saying to my wife, I'm working twice as hard working from home than as if I was in the office. It's crazy. So because you've got to prove yourself, you see.
Oh yeah.
But that's fine. You know, the kids are safe, the family are safe. That's all that's important to me. I don't like hearing what's going on. But I'm really quite, again, I'm a bit weird compared to normal people, in as much as I look at the actual numbers worldwide, and whilst it's a tragedy what's going on, in the scheme of things, the numbers are small of fatalities. If you go back 100 years ago, you know, the Spanish flu or whatever it was, killed millions, absolutely killed millions. The Black Plague killed half the planet's population. You know, when you start putting it into that type of context, then we're lucky. We've got the technology, we've got doctors, we've got fantastic medicine that if we didn't have in that place, forget the politics, forget that you should have, you could have, and all that old nonsense. The doctors and everything else, the medicines have saved the country, have saved the world population from being wiped out.
Yeah, no, you raise a good point, and I think the reason why it's such a huge deal is that it's 2020. It's like
2020.
Today's technology had the biggest killer of this thing was the preparation, was the hindsight, was you know, implementing what technology and what tools that we do have.
Yeah, but how do you prepare for something like this?
True, but at the same time, and this is going to be another teaching lesson. It's like, you know, like you said, 100 years ago, we didn't have anything anywhere near the technology and the medical and technical capabilities that we have now.
And you 50 million dead. Yeah,
but
50, 60 million dead.
But you raise a good point. Like, no one's psychic. I mean, there were some flags. You know, according to the news and according to the
media.
But you know, with that said, there were some flags that were raised. There were some concerns that were raised, and it looks, you know, had they jumped on it. And now I just think.
No, I agree. But looking at statistics, yeah, I can guarantee you, in 100 years' time, a pandemic's going to hit. Because the last 400 or 500 years, a pandemic has hit every 100 years.
Sure.
True. But how do you prepare for that? Are you going to fill up? Listen, are you going to fill up a warehouse for 100 years with equipment that needs to be maintained, that needs to be bought, needs to be built, needs to be everything else? That when it comes to it, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Because
it's 100 years out of date. Well, what can you do? Nobody's done right and nobody's done wrong. You know, it's that type of, it's a learning curve. Right now, yes, there will be lessons learned at this, 100% agree with you. And there will be things in operating procedures I hope that government can take up in this circumstance. We know what ducks we need to put in the road. But borders, close them down. Islands, close them down.
Yeah.
Airports, close them down straight away, instantly.
There was a good 3-4 months. People were trapped in certain countries. Yeah.
Absolutely, but people didn't know about it. People didn't know its transmittability or anything like that. You know, nobody knew. Right. Everybody was guessing. Did China warn us in time? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's not for us to say. You know, it's happened now. Is it man-made? Did it come out of a lab? Did it come out of a bat? Nobody knows. You're not going to find that out.
Yeah. No, you're right. And
it's a hard situation.
Yeah.
People's lives. People have died. Loved ones have died. And it's sad. It's terrible. But without what we've had, without the medicines that we've had, the technology we had, there would have been millions more.
Yeah.
I mean, this country, they're talking about April before anything.
Oh, yeah.
Before anything, you know.
Well, you know, we were talking offline. I told you how, you know, I eventually contracted it on duty with the National Guard. So we had gotten the first Moderna shot, first Moderna vaccine shot. And so I got it. I think it was January 5th. I got it. And during this briefing, they give this whole briefing and they say, okay, so today you're getting the shot. 25 to 35 days from now, you're scheduled to get your second shot. And then it's like, you know, frequently asked questions. And they said, okay, you're probably going to ask me oh, can I go out and about like I did, 2 years ago? No.
No.
The social distancing, even after you take the second vaccine shot, social distancing, mask wearing, all the precautions that you did throughout all of 2020, you're going to do through the summer of 2021. And so
Through 2021.
through the summer, they said, all the precautions of 2020, they're going to go well through the summer of 2021.
Yeah.
And so I always multiply everything by double. It's always easily, it's a safety net. It's one of those OCD, ADD, neurotic type of, things that I do. And I'm like, all of 2021,
yep,
all of 2021 100%. Is going to be like
2022, half of 22.
Half of 22, right? Maybe, yeah. Even more so, because then you're going to have the holidays. Listen, yeah, exactly. it's going to be the holiday. It's going to be Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2021. That's probably going to cause another little micro surge. Or
you got Easter over here. We've got our summer holidays over here. Yeah. We've got loads of things that's going on.
I'm just speaking for America. I mean, you make a good point. Like all the different holidays that are in the UK, in Sweden.
Yeah.
I have an additional calendar on my app because my dad and stepmother live in Sweden, so I've got all the Swedish holidays, and it's like holy shit, like a million different holidays. They got a totally different Father's Day.
They have IKEA Day.
IKEA Day, right? Oh, of course, absolutely. That's a huge holiday over there. So yeah.
But no, I mean, but on the flip side of that, I've made some wonderful contacts on LinkedIn and other social websites through film industry. I'm now talking to major players and investors in film and everything else who it's not even just traditional filmmakers. It's now we're finding that non-traditional investors want in because the markets are dead and they're not earning any money, and they see that we started to build stock. We've got content ready to go that just needs money. They're going to get their 60% return of the investment, etc., etc. They're going to get their fame and fortune. They're going to get their name on a billboard, and that's what they like. And so we're attracting new investors who've never done it before, and that's interesting. That's really interesting. And you've also got old actors. I don't want to say old actors, but established actors, A or B or C list, who are looking at independent filmmaking now, because we could do things quicker. We could do things without too many accountants worried about returns and everything else, because that's not what we do. We make films. We don't make money to make films. Does that make sense? Whereas the studio's interested in the budget and the bottom line, and we are as well. But we worry less about that and make a great product. That's what our aspirations are, and I think they see that now.
Yeah, and in making the great product is what's going to bring in the returns.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? I mean, good shoes sell. Shitty shoes don't sell, and so that's been the issue. That's been that those horse blinders that studios have had. We have a good idea. Oh, if it's a superhero thing, of course it'll make money, but we have to just meddle in every little aspect of the pre-production, the development, the actors, the budget, the marketing, the final cut, and it's like, listen. At the end of the day, it's a film made by filmmakers. Actors, I consider actors to be filmmakers too, because they're a part of the filmmaking process.
The whole enchilada, absolutely.
So the filmmakers, let the filmmakers make a good film, a great film. Think Shawshank Redemption, I think, was on a budget way less than a lot of other films.
Yeah.
And that thing actually flopped in the theater. It was its TV release.
Cult status.
Cult status. And from its TV release, it got like this new DVD push and the VHS push. And I think it's still listed as either number 1 or number 2 greatest film ever made on IMDb. because the studio, Stephen King, let that filmmaker, what the hell was his name? Frank Darabont. Stephen King, the studio, they all let Frank Darabont do what he wanted to do. There was a couple of times where they chimed in. He goes, listen, I know what I'm doing. Let me do my thing. The greatest movie, the greatest or second greatest movie ever made on the planet. According to a number of lists and all that.
Everyone has an opinion, you know.
And so, and look at Joker. It took Todd Phillips to make this violent, gritty, R-rated, hard R-rated supervillain movie. It's a superhero movie, but it's really a supervillain movie, and it's just this, you know, really
humanized it, isn't it? Completely humanized it.
Yeah,
and people have somehow he managed for people to care about the Joker.
And what's that budget? What was the budget of Joker versus the budget of Justice League or Suicide Squad or Batman v Superman? And what was the return percentage versus Justice League, Batman v Superman?
I'll have to check. There's a website. I don't know if you know the website, the numbers. There's a website, the numbers. I always check it on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know there's IMDb Pro and there's a couple other sites too, but yeah, absolutely.
But the numbers deal with budgets, purely about budgets. That's what the numbers do.
Oscar Buzz is going to raise up ticket sales, subscription.
Again, see, cinema is gone. Cinema's died. You know, for now, for at least another year or so.
Oh yeah. Died. But you know, the on-demand sales. You know, like even if a movie gets Oscar buzz, people are gonna dump money into it. Viewers are gonna dump money into it. Whether the
Oscars have to change.
Yeah,
the Oscars have to change.
I agree with that too.
It's got to stop this white man's club of patting everybody on the back, and it's always the usual people.
Yeah,
we need an Oscars that really reflect. This is what pisses me off about studios. Whenever you talk to agents or producers, they always say, "Have you done your research? Is this what the audience wants?" And I'm like, but it doesn't matter what the audience was, because the big film studios dictate what the audience want anyway. So they're just going to keep churning out Marvel films, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and that's just nonsense. Hey, listen, that's not films.
Hey, listen. I disagree with that. I love the Marvel movies. I love the DC movies, but you're absolutely
right. I'm not saying it isn't a place. I'm not saying I haven't got a place. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is...
But I agree. No, go ahead.
You know? I'm saying there's also a place also for the little film.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But the Marvel and the DC are going to come to this hard realization that this pandemic kind of fast forward what we were all doing anyway, was home entertainment, streaming.
Absolutely.
You know, I know people that have huge theaters in their basement, huge, you know, like a 200 by 100 freaking screen.
That's amazing,
with a 4K projector or whatever the hell they got, and 10.4 surround sound now or something, something ridiculous in their basement. I'm not going to theaters. No, I'll wait for it.
Why do you need to? I mean, my 50-inch plasma is fine, you know.
Yeah.
Well, not plasma these days, but OLED and stuff like that. You know,
I remember the plasmas. But no, you're absolutely right. And there's no point.
But even on your iPod. But even on your iPod, you've got streaming. You watch it whenever you want to watch it.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes it's the series and sometimes it's the smaller films. You know, with the big Marvel films, you want to watch it on a big screen. And yeah, every once in a while, I'll take the family to the cinema and go see Indiana Jones, go see Star Wars, go see Marvel. Yeah. That's an event. But the prices have become so high at the cinema that it's like, do I take them to Disney World, or do I take them to go see a movie for one night, or do I take them to go do I take them to Disney World for a whole weekend?
Crazy price.
It's going to be the same price, right?
Yeah.
But you know, you got a fun time with the family. You're staying home, staying safe. I mean, still, you're not going to beat the pubs. You know, grown-ups are going to go to the pubs. Kids are going to go to day camps, summer camps. You know, families are still going to go to the beach and the boardwalk. But God bless it. Listen, I am somewhat of a traditionalist. I am somewhat of an old-fashioned kind of guy too when it comes to that love of cinema, that going to the theater and it being this event. But also, I love movies so much that I'm watching movies at home. I'm watching maybe one a day, two a day on my
And it's
different.
great though, because look at what you've got available to you. You know,
Yeah,
you've got all of the old films,
yeah,
all of the old films from when they were first made, silent movies, and everything, right up to modern day. So you've got billions of hours to watch. Catch up on some classics.
yeah,
Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Errol Flynn, you know, all of this. Richard Green. There's tons of stuff out there that you just think, oh my God, this is amazing. Forget it's black and white. Forget it's you know censored to the hilt. It's an amazing set of stories, and that's what I like about it. I mean, I don't watch traditional television much at all today. Everything's either recorded or downloaded. Is that simple?
yeah.
And that's legally downloaded, by the way.
Legally,
That's not illegally. Yeah,
I
I
what
don't
was
do
that?
that.
Was it iTunes or Apple TV or whatever you call it? Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. You know, keep it kosher, keep it legal.
You have to because you've got to keep it alive. You know,
And
people.
so
This
do
is
I.
people.
You know, I'm
No,
not
no,
gonna.
I'm just saying to people. I'm not saying you, obviously, but I'm saying people still do it, and that's wrong because you know you're thinking, oh, the studios can afford it and everything else, and maybe they can afford it, but the person at the bottom rung can't, and that's what's being hit. It's the electrician, you
Yeah.
know, it's the
Yep.
makeup artist, it's the caterer, and that's what people don't really understand. You know that these guys are taking the hit because they're getting paid less and less, while the big man in the thing is still keeping his 60% profit and everything
Yeah.
else because that's what he wants. So everyone else pays for it down the line. Shit
Yeah.
travels downhill, apparently.
Yep. Shit falls. Yeah. What was it? Shit rolls downhill. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, have you been back on set? Have you been back on location in the
No,
field out?
no.
No.
We spent some time last year in a COVID-friendly recording studio to do audiobooks, which was
Oh,
quite
hell yeah.
interesting.
Hell yeah.
We spent a couple of weekends in Nottingham, and it's the guys that did. You know Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. You know the album Jeff Wayne War of the Worlds.
Mm-mm.
I've not heard it. So Jeff Wayne's a composer,
Okay.
and he set the film War of the Worlds to music
Oh, wow.
way
Okay.
back in the 70s, way back, great rock tunes and everything else. He had Thin Lizzy in it. He had Justin Hayward, Moody Blues. Listen, if you can find it, get it. It's a huge extravaganza. But anyway, they did the animations and the recordings for that back in the day. And so we were lucky to get into the studio. It was fantastic. And so they'll be coming out soon online. We are still obviously able to, and again, it's a blessing. We're able to sort of like plan a lot
Yeah.
of films. So we've done schedules, we've done budgets, we've done scripts, we've got everything in place now for several films and productions that we're working on. That simply once the money lands, it literally is pressing a button, and within whatever, we will be employing lots of people to make these films for us.
Yeah.
And that's the good side of COVID.
Oh, yeah. And so in my experience, you know, like I mentioned, I'm in the National Guard, and in 2014, from 2014 to 2015, my unit deployed to Kuwait. So it was very, you know, chill, a lot of downtime. It was not a combat. I don't even think it was considered a combat zone at the time, but there was so much downtime that's all I did in my free time was I was prepping. I was polishing scripts and then breaking them down, shot listing them, scheduling them, budgeting them.
Absolutely.
I might doctor the script a little bit more, and then you
You
know
have to.
come up with more stuff. And I was coming up with new ideas, and I was contacting some of my colleagues back home. I said, hey, when we get back, man, we're gonna do a 15-day road trip, document the whole thing, make a web series out of it. Then we're gonna like turn that web series into 2 more web series, and then I got some films I want to shoot, some shorts. I got some features I want to try to shop around these scripts, and so I was used to that, like all this downtime. And so when this COVID happened, I had a couple of productions, couple of those productions were finally in the can. I just use this time to edit, to put it up on the channels. Started breaking down more scripts. I started polishing more feature scripts. Trying to put a GIF wrap on this thing, on that thing, on the other thing, and it got to a point where it's like, I guess I got to just start more stuff. But now that the kid is, he's about to be 11 months old, he's really starting to develop a personality and want to be hands-on. So it's like, I'm glad I did what I did the first 9 months. So now all I'm doing is just playing with the kid and always hands-on, crawling inside the playpen with them and that sort of thing. And definitely the first 6 months of this quarantine, it was just utilizing every minute of every day.
Yeah, you have to. You've got to take advantage of it,
Yeah.
And always, and again, you find that it helps with a perception that you're not shitting on your ass doing nothing,
Yeah.
And that's what you need, because perception is sometimes more important than reality. And by letting people know what you're doing, and having this pile of work already complete, ready, they know that, oh, actually, he ain't just talk. It isn't just about talking. It's more than just an idea. And I agree with you. So if you've got downtime, don't watch soap operas. Get writing.
Well, maybe an hour or two, to dedicate to whatever it is you're watching. For me, when I'm watching stuff, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm being inspired. Like, I've gotten some really cool ideas, and I don't think they're stealing. I think I've gotten some really cool ideas from somebody else's film that was totally different, and one little thing snapped in my mind, and I start taking notes, and I start coming up with something, and it is different. And I try to be careful of not to steal someone else's idea, but definitely inspired.
You can't help but do that, because there's only 7 storylines.
Right.
And so what we have to do is take those 7 storylines and, come up with a combination of everything in it to tell a story on a different bent. You're going to be telling the same story, because people will say, oh, it's like so-and-so, it's like so-and-so. Like I've said in Mad Max, Robin Hood type thing.
It's like this, it's like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to get all that comparison and everything else. So I think as a writer, you should just ignore that and just get on with it.
Yeah.
And then see how it comes out. I've lost the art of reading now, because I've found that whatever I'm reading is starting to be transposed in what I'm writing. So, I just throw it away. So what I tend to do is, because I like the classic stuff, I like to look at that and think, okay, then, so how can we put that? I love that storyline. I love that premise and everything else. Can we put that in a modern day scenario, and how would it be more gritty and stuff? And that's what I do, really. And then you've got no worries about copyrights, because whoever wrote it was dead 70 years ago. So happy days.
Yeah. And
it's not about plagiarism at all. It's right. It's inspiration. It's not plagiarism. It's inspiration.
True. And also, on the flip side of what I said, and to agree what you said, is like you said, Mad Max, right? If that's a hot commodity right now, these post-apocalyptic desert films,
they love it. People love it.
These car chase. I mean, there was 3 different things in it. There was post-apocalyptic. There was, it was a revenge film. It was post-apocalyptic, and it was speed car chases and motorcycle chases.
Then it's the man with no name.
Right.
The stranger. He's the cool stranger that come in and brought law to the law of society. It's all of that and more. It's Clint Eastwood. It's Errol Flynn. It's everybody.
Yeah. And you're just creating more products within that market.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's like,
absolutely.
How many different soap companies? How many different soaps? There's Dial, there's Ivory, there's Dove. Are they ripping each other off? No.
Soap. Exactly.
It's soap. It's just different soaps.
Flour, mate. How many cakes can you make out of flour?
Right.
It's that type of situation. It's exactly it. It's an ingredient. You take that ingredient and you make a little dish out of it. I tend to say it's a facet. I tend to say what we do is it's a facet, and each facet we do, and each facet we bring along, creates this beautiful diamond, and that's what we're working on. And I tell people, you're this facet. Be proud of how you're going to shine in that diamond. And that's what I tell people. That's how I motivate people.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So what's next on the agenda? What's the next set of goals? What's the next set of plans? What's the next on the agenda? Say for the next year for Joe Sultana.
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 Yeah, it's what we're going to do. Well, we've got more writing to do. We're not finished. This isn't. See, a lot of people I know and I've talked to, I want to write a film. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm like, well, just do it. Just get on with it. You know. But it isn't just one film. There's a whole library of stories in my head that I need to get out. So fortunately, with Reaper Shadow, we're turning that into a series of 7. So I've got the first 2 scripts and the third half script done. With the other 4.5 scripts in my head, I know exactly where we're going with it. I'm writing, or I've written another one called Time Readers, which is going to be really interesting. So it's like, how can I say it? Do you remember the Time Tunnel?
No, that's a film,
man,
right? Or
you're
a book?
so young. That's a TV program from America.
Okay.
Anyway, it's 2 guys get stuck in time tunnels.
Okay.
And every episode they go to a different era, and they try to right a wrong that's happened. So they meet Lincoln, they go on the Titanic, they go on this and that and everything else. So it's like that, but with Mission Impossible, it's an amalgamation of that. So Time Readers is that, and I'm doing it with 2 guys from the States actually. That's it. So there's 2 guys in the States that I'm working on. Who one has come on board as co-writer, and they've all come on board as executive producers. And it's so this is going to be a series as well. It's about a group of people who are law enforcement, but they have special powers. So it's not going to be like X-Men or anything. These guys are pretty screwed up in the head, but they've got special powers who can read items. They can pick up an item and tell the history of it because they get vision. They literally act as eyewitnesses. Some can move through time, others can't. Others got powers of telekinesis and stuff like that. So it's all that type of thing, mind reading and other bits and pieces. So these guys come together, and it's a group, but it's set in Malta. The first one's set in Malta. Malta is a small country in the Mediterranean. I don't know if you've heard of it. And that's where my dad's from. Malta. That's where my dad's from. So I decided to set a film in there because Malta's used in a lot of films, huge amount of films. But it's always a backdrop. I wanted to write a film that highlighted Malta as a country itself. So Malta is a character as well. So, but what we've come up with is really quite fantastic in as much as the series is, we're going to visit different eras with different themes. So there's a problem that's arisen, and the head of this organization, he's the only recurring character, maybe a second one as well, we don't know yet. And they travel the timeline to try and sort out where there's what we call time eruptions. And each era, there are these psychic people, there's already there. They've got these group of people that are already there, and they just call upon them. You know, throughout the years, there's these people, and they just pop up at a time, go to them and say, well, we need you, It's just like Mission Impossible did. And then they go off and solve crimes. So that's quite an interesting one that we're working on. I'm working on a comedy that's based in the 70s in England with a strong black lead lady. So that's going to be a bit of a guffaw, really. So there's lots going on. Working on some other bits and pieces I can't say right now, but
sure,
we'll get there. So you know, it's just about opening up doors, getting opportunities there. Really, what we're trying to do also is you know, we're trying to open up the eyes of people that you can invest a little amount of money and make a great product. It isn't always about big bucks and big budget. And so by trying to bring in new investment, we're hoping that other independent filmmakers as well will benefit from that as well, not just us. But I think this is a time where independent filmmakers across the world, especially after COVID, have got great opportunities if we all work together. You know, even though across the pond and everything else, and I've proved that by working with these two guys. And I think by doing that, I think we can crack some eggs to make gorgeous omelette. What do you reckon? What do you think?
Oh, say that again. I missed that a little bit.
So what do you think about, you know, these great opportunities for us all after COVID, post-COVID?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
The independent filmmaker, I mean.
Absolutely. So, I mean, for me, I've been prepping, like we said, I've been prepping, and I've got everything shot listed, broken down, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you know, kind of working in reverse. You started with a book, but kind of in reverse. It's a lot trickier to get a script. It's a little bit more complicated to get a script out there, marketed, and picked up and optioned and then produced, and then, you know, someone might buy a script from me and put it on a shelf for 10 years. You know what I mean? But so kind of working in reverse, kind of reverse engineering the process is taking my scripts and reworking them into novels, novellas, short stories.
So hard.
And possibly, but then self-publishing through, you know, Amazon, self-publishing, ebooks, whatever, and seeing how that plays out. And there's a lot of different there's a lot of different, you know, potential.
I mean, I did it the other way around. I wrote the book and then did the script, and I found out that you actually, because I was one of the biggest critics about film novel tie-in, because the film is never ever the same as the novel, ever. And the reason being is the best film director is in your head, your own imagination.
Yeah.
And so you see it differently.
Yeah.
The words on the page, you see it differently. Even me and you would have two different interpretations of the same book. And the biggest criticism of that was Blade Runner. It was a Philip K. Dick film book, Do Androids Electric Sheep, and that was one of the first science fiction books I read in secondary school when I was 11. So, and it really affected me in what I was reading and my imagination. I loved it. But when they put the film out, I was so disappointed. Genuinely. So I even fell asleep. It took me years to actually watch it to the end because I found it always boring. But then writing the script of Reapers taught me you're dealing with two different mediums, and so you have to, you know, you have to fill in the gaps in a novel to be descriptive of each scene, what's happening in it, trying to recreate the flavour of what's going on into somebody's head so they can smell the coffee, taste the pizza, you know, that type of thing. In a film script, you don't need to do that.
No, you don't.
You've got to just give it the scene, what's happening, who's in it,
basically,
what's spoken.
Yeah. Basically, what you see and what you hear is what the screenplay, right? But but a novel is basically everything that is being,
everything. Yeah, they have to experience the colors,
the thoughts,
the heat,
you know, like
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I found that really extremely difficult. It took me a long time to actually get the first script out. I think it probably took me just as long to write the script with the novel there than it did with the novel.
Yeah.
But I did it, and I learned a lot of lessons, and it's not put me off. And the only thing I can think about is to tell people is if you're writing is first, like, a couple of things I would say is get it written and then get it right. Don't worry about editing and all that lot until you've got the last final paragraph in place. So get it written, then get it right. Try not to write linear. If you start off with chapter 1 and it ends up that's chapter 10, so what? Doesn't matter. Don't throw anything away. If you've got 25 paragraphs that are complete rubbish, don't delete it. Save that as a file called complete rubbish and go back to that another time. That could be another story. know, that's
Absolutely.
just persevere. It's okay that you lose interest. It's okay to put it away for 3 months and not go back to it. That's perfectly fine. That's the nature of what we do. You know, just carry on.
And you know, you've raised a good point. Now, I've had, so you know, I've dealt with a number of people that are like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You've been talking about that for 10 years now.
Yeah.
What have you gotten done?
Yeah.
Well, and I'm like, dude, just get on the laptop and just start writing.
Do it.
You have a laptop.
Do it,
if you have a laptop that works, you have it. That's it. Just start typing. But
you can make notes on your phone. You can make notes on your phone to find out that.
You can talk into your freaking phone and it'll transcribe it into notes.
Absolutely.
But and I did that. I actually did an entire outline. I was an Uber driver back in 2017, and I'd have like 10, 15 minutes of sitting in my car doing nothing. I pull out the phone and I start voice texting into notes the entire outline of a screenplay. Fast forward 2 years later, I'm almost done with that screenplay.
There we go.
As far as the writing of the screenplay, I finished the outline Uber driving.
Let me ask you, Glenn. Let me ask you, how do you go about getting funding? What do you do? Are you going through agents to sell your scripts, or are you going to producers to try and get it funded?
I don't know anybody that knows anybody. I know. So you know, like there's been a few people that know people that I've passed off the screenplay to. Got to sign an NDA. Half of them did, half of them wouldn't, so I didn't send it to them. The other half did. I sent it to them, and they're like, "Oh," and didn't hear anything back. Hey, fine, so be it. But there are like uber low budget, ultra low budget stuff that I shoot on my channel, and I put that out. I'm also a professional actor. I also work on other people's projects, and I don't have a manager that will pump my product out or try to pitch for me or shop around for me. I don't have an agent, nothing. I'm completely non-union on all aspects of the industry. So you know, as far as my own branding goes, like I promote myself, I market myself, I brand myself. And
there's nothing wrong in that. There's nothing wrong in that.
And no, there's not. But it's just still about networking and connecting and saying, and if someone says to me, "Hey, do you have a script?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a couple." But
you see, with scripts and everything else, you got to target. I mean, there's no good you sending a horror film to Disney. You know, it's that type of situation.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I think a lot of people go wrong as well. They don't target. So that's where audience comes into it. As a writer, my audience isn't the audience that's going to watch it. My audience is the producer that's going to buy it to turn it into a film. That's where my audience is, you know. So I have to market it for that type of person to read.
Yeah.
So, you know, unfortunately, I did a million years ago, maybe 2 million years ago. I was trained as a graphic artist, so I can do a little bit of animation and everything else. So I do my own things. I do my own trailers and everything else. And so I built up this whole enchilada, really. I mean, Reaper Shadow, we've got trailers out on YouTube. I've got a sample graphic novel coming out as well, just as to see if we can be done. We're talking to people to turn it into a computer game. So it isn't just, you know, it isn't just the film I'm working on. It's the whole merchandise and everything else that's part of it. And I don't believe in shutting yourself down, because there's enough people out there that's going to try and shut you down. So just go for it. If you're going to go for it big. You know, at the worst, I'm wasting my own time. Nobody else is. At worst, and at best, you know, we could hit a gold mine on this, hit a vein of gold, and become whatever we need to become.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's like, you know, you've got certain tiers, and I have you know, each if I'm writing a full-length feature script, then you know, obviously you have a certain idea of that film in your mind. And then, you know, maybe some short scripts, but then there's other projects. It's like, okay, you know, new media, it's 2020, it's 2021, it's going to be 2022. You know, for the last 10 years, we've had this whole flux of new media. YouTube blew it up, Vimeo blew it up. You know, Hulu and Crackle, and
these guys all want original content.
yeah, but you know, there's this whole influx of new media. I mean, what the hell is a podcast?
Yeah, yeah.
10 years ago, podcasts weren't a thing, but Howard Stern was.
Yeah, yeah.
And Howard Stern changed the radio market. He changed what everybody was doing. And then you had Opie and Anthony going way too far, and they got fired and they got, you know, banned from radio. But you had Howard Stern that completely changed talk radio. And then you had other comedians that didn't have the money, didn't have the budget. No one would hire them. No one would, you know, give them, no one would option them. So they did it in their basement, turn it into a podcast, turn into a web, you know, what, internet radio. And then it was podcasts. And now, and now podcasts have even evolved over the past 5 years. Now podcasts might be a very, very, very specific genre. You got horror podcasts, you got sci-fi podcasts, you got people kind of doing semi-audio books via podcasts. I mean, there's all sorts of different things. So, but for me, I started looking into like, okay, how do we produce this versus that? How do we produce that versus this? And so me and a couple partners got together and we said, okay, listen, we're killing it. We're making a lot of money producing other people's shit. We're making a lot of money acting in other people's stuff. But we need to make our own thing here and there. We got to produce a couple of our own stuff, you know, a couple of my scripts, a couple of your scripts. So as an actor, I was playing a detective on all those different crime shows. I think in the UK, the channel is called CI.
Okay, then criminal investigations, yeah.
But over here, it's Discovery's. Over here, it's Discovery Channel's ID, Investigation Discovery.
Yeah.
And all, you know, all those crime shows, you know, all those crime reenactment. And so I played a detective in probably, you know, 40, 50 different episodes of those shows where I'm interrogating somebody. I'm investigating the crime. I'm the detective in all the reenactment.
It's cool though, isn't it? You know,
it's great work. I love it. It's great work. I put together a great reel. So then it dawned on me after seeing how independently produced these are, how low budget, how they're able to really stretch that budget out. I said, what if we did a crime show, but on supervillains? You know, if Bruce Wayne went home, took off the cape and the cowl, had a cocktail, and watched ID, what would he see on CI or ID? Over there, it's called CI. What would he see on CI? On those crime shows? What would Bruce Wayne see on those crime shows? And so we developed one crime show set in the DC universe, one crime show set in the Marvel universe, and it's crime reenactments. It's you know, specialists. You know, you got Clark Kent, who's a reporter talking about different criminals. You've got you know, who else? I don't know, but you know, but we're treating it like, you know, a docudrama reenactment crime series. And so the budget is so low. But normally people see that as a huge, those Marvel movies, those DC movies, right? So it's and then in reverse, I've got a couple of horror scripts. I got a couple of action scripts. I got a couple of sci-fi scripts that are original. So produce those like as motion comics, you know, especially now with quarantine, right? But can't afford, even before the quarantine, can't afford 20 crew members and 20 cast members, but I can afford a couple of voiceover actors to work remote, do some recording based on a script, email me the MP3s, and I could dabble with some
Absolutely.
And I could dabble with Photoshop, I can dabble with After Effects, I can dabble with the Unreal Engine, I can dabble with Final Cut and make a motion comic and still tell the story.
Yes.
So it was, so in a sense, what was mine, what was original, or what was real was going to be done like a comic, and what was comic was going to be done like it's real to undercut the budget. So I decided to like flip the genres. I decided to flip the production. What do you call it? I decided to flip the production genres for the story genres.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, it would drastically undercut the budget. Now, I'm having a hell of a time trying to learn the Unreal Engine, but After Effects I'm familiar with, and Photoshop I'm familiar with. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, these are all great tools. They're all fantastic tools if you know how to use them, and you only need a basic knowledge of what you're doing really to get something that's quite sexy. Should we say?
You got kids on their smartphones.
Well, I was just about to say, listen, I about 2 or 3 years ago, I've just sent you a link for Amazon Prime. It's a 11-minute film that I wrote and produced, and we got. Sorry, I'm just being waved at. So we've got an 11-minute film that I produced. It cost me nothing because I've got a load of university kids who used it as their final dissertation. And it's 11 minutes long, and it's fantastic. It's called Leonard.
Okay. What the heck is going on with this thing? All right. Well, I have an account, so.
I bet it's available this stage. It should be.
Log into
It's
Prime.
Leonard.
Oh my gosh. All right, my computer's acting funky. Oh no, I'll do it. That's fine. Let me see here. All right, here we go. You know, sometimes websites are way too safe.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely, what I'll do, I'll put a link to that. I'll put a link to your film in the description.
I appreciate that. But it just shows you what you can do. It just shows you what you can do if you put your mind to it and get like-minded people. You know, we're not making any money on it whatsoever, but that's neither here nor there. The fact is these kids got their dissertations in and everything else in their university. I've got a film made and people are entertained.
Hey, but you know what? Here's what I will do. It will let me show the trailer, but for some reason it's not letting me pull up the movie. But I'm probably destroying my bandwidth right now.
Leave it in. Leave it. I appreciate
it. But come on now. Start loading up, sucker. But yeah, I mean, you know, you get some like-minded people together. Yeah. So this is the trailer for your film, Leonard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, you get some like-minded people together. Get a couple of bucks.
There's a lot of people in it. There's a lot of people in it that have come from all over London to do this. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and for me, whether it's a DC or a Marvel movie, or whether it's a love story and a loyalty story, you know, about the older generation, it's about the characters, about their connection. And I recognize that guy. I recognize him. Yeah.
He was in a band in the 80s.
I watch a lot of stuff, brother. So.
And he's in a lot of films as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this looks incredible. I love the music, and I can just tell it's got, like, you know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's little things like that
I appreciate
that sell the film, you know.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. I'm thinking about turning that into a full feature. So there's another one for us to do, you know.
And so and that was another marketing tool that I was going to mention is, you know, you make a web series, you make a short film version of your feature film.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, got Napoleon Dynamite picked up. That's what got THX 1138, George Lucas's THX 1138. What the hell else? Bottle
Now,
Rocket.
that's a great film. See,
Yeah.
that's a great. I enjoyed THX. I thought it was amazing.
Oh yeah, and Bottle Rocket with Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson, directed by Wes Anderson, was a short film. They took it to Sundance, and then it did so well, they made a feature film, and then that was a big IFC Sundance release. Was the feature film, which made Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson, and Wes Anderson household names.
Yeah.
And it's all
I quite like Luke Anderson. Sorry, Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson, yeah. And but it's you start with a short film. Start with a short film version of whatever it is that you got going on, what have you, so on and so forth. And but again, going back to the new media, I mean, it's you got folks pumping out short films every week, or it's a web series, or it's a podcast. Kevin Smith, we all know Kevin Smith. He already did The Clerks, and he did the Mallrats, Chasing Amy, all those films.
Yeah.
But then he started a podcast, and he I don't know if he took a break from filmmaking or he was just experimenting with new media, but he started a podcast. And at one point he did this episode where he read this bizarre classified on Craigslist, and he started reading it, and then he started pontificating on it and started doing his own spiel. Like, this must be some creepy guy that wants to do this, that, and the other thing. And that hour-long podcast turned into his feature film 2 years later called Tusk, about a guy that wanted to hire somebody to dress up like a walrus, and then he turned him in, and then he was trying to turn him into a walrus with surgeries and stuff like that. And it was a crazy, crazy horror movie, Tusk, by Kevin Smith. But that spawned from this bizarre episode of Kevin Smith's podcast where he was kind of just verbalizing it, telling
inspirations everywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just that's how he got a feature film picked up.
Yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite, they got their feature film picked up by doing a short version of it. I'm pushing, I'm already 2 seasons into those supervillain crime shows that I did, and there's like 10 to 15 episodes per season of both universes, DC and Marvel, and I'm trying to push that out. But listen, I already have it out. I don't have to shop around a screenplay and, can you sign an NDA and confidentiality?
Yeah.
I already have a product on my channel, and so I'm just sending the YouTube to hopefully shopping it around to some DC / Warner Brothers people or some Marvel / Disney people. Hey,
how's the figures? How's the viewing figures?
Oh, crap. I mean, I suck at promotion, man. I suck at promotion. I'm doing my best, trying to figure out the hashtags, trying to figure out the algorithms, and
marketing is the secret to everything.
Yeah, it is.
It's alchemy.
It's alchemy. You're absolutely right. And trying to figure out that formula, it's somewhere between hashtags and keywords or some shit. I don't.
Yeah.
Bro,
yeah.
I wish I knew the analytics. I wish I knew the algorithms of the analytics and all this nonsense, and I just don't.
Yeah.
I got to figure it out somehow. I mean, I've got, some of my colleagues kind of have like a head into that, but and even they are like, it changes every month.
Because you have to market yourself, then you have to market your product to your audience, which is producers and executive producers.
Oh yeah.
And that's where agents come into it, I guess. If you can find a decent agent. But then, see, I have a problem with agents, and I hope I don't offend anybody who is an agent out there. They work for me. If somebody in my team is taking money that I've earned them, they work for me, not the other way around.
Right.
And a lot of agents that I know, and they're all lovely people. This isn't a personal thing. Don't have that mentality. Have the other mentality that their client is their employee, and they will do exactly what you tell them. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. That's not actually how it works with me. So I tend to I don't want to say clash, but I'd certainly have a different viewpoint to agents when I discuss it with them.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with some minor disagreements.
No, not at all.
That's not a clash. I just disagree.
Conflict
You know.
yeah, conflict is good sometimes. You know?
Yeah,
you have to have that clear the air.
Listen, I got my two main buddies. You know, we pretty much encompass the zombie squad, and we butt heads all the time, about you know, where to put effort here, where to put effort there. Is this a cool idea? Is this, you know, should we do this? Should we do that? We butt heads all the time, and then next thing you know, we've accomplished a lot at the end of after the end of 2017, after the end of 2018, after the end of 2019, accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
You know, butting heads, agreeing, disagreeing, compromising.
Define success. You see, that's where everybody's got a different definition of success, and that's where that comes from. You know, and I always say, if I really argue with somebody, I go, right, okay, then, right, we're at an impasse. You go off and do that. I'll go off and do this, and that way we've got two things done at the same time. And then they go, oh, okay, then.
Hey, it's nothing personal. You know, it's nothing personal. But listen, I mean, we got to get it done one way or another. So
exactly. Yeah. And I don't like people who don't pull their weight as well. That's another thing.
Oh yeah. And for me being late, that's a big
unforgivable.
Unforgivable.
No reason. Unless your leg fell off. Unless your leg fell off walking to work, there's no reason why you need to be late.
You better have a good reason. But after like the 10th, 15th, 20th time, it's like, dude, it's there.
No, people don't get that chance with me. Not that many chances. You get 2, 3, that's it. Gosh, God. Same as on set. I always tell people, even the lead actors, you know, not one person is bigger than this project, including me.
Yes.
And including me. And if I'm getting uptight and outside, I need to go. Whoever's disruptive, whoever's a negative influence, is not going to be working on this set. And if that means you, Mr. Lead, A-lister, you're gone. You know.
Yeah. No, you hit the nail on the head, because I've been on the set a number of times as an AD, as a production manager, as a production coordinator, mostly ADing, mostly as a associate producer, co-producer, whatever the case may be. And I always tell everybody, listen, the most important thing here is the film.
Yeah.
You got directors that are like, no, this shot needs to be shot this. I'm like, bro, we're not going to get the shot.
Yeah.
Do you want to complete the scene so it pieces together so we have a complete film, or do you want to spend 10 freaking hours trying to do one freaking shot? We're well past budget, time, schedule, budget, all that.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, dumb down. You still got a complete film. At the end of the day, the most important thing is the film. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not this lead actor. It's not this director. It's not this writer. It's not this freaking set dresser. There was one project that was on, the set dresser was trying to run shit. I'm like, listen, you're not. I'm letting you know that right now. You're not. And stop getting butthurt because I'm giving you script notes on set dressing. I know you did a lot of prep already. I'm giving you a bunch of notes. You take them, don't take them, but don't get butthurt about it and don't make a scene about it.
You're here to do a job.
Yeah, just dress the set. That's your job. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is the film.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In the UK, are you familiar with the phrase "New Year, New You"?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about the new year, new you, the new Joe, the new normal, new Joe, New Year, new you.
Then.
What comes to mind?
There isn't one,
no.
Because every day's a new Joe.
Yeah.
I wake up. I'm not normal. I said that before. I don't have this awareness of what normality is. Genuinely, I just go off and do what I want to do. And people look at me sometimes and go, "You're crazy." I go, yeah, and as long as I wake up every day and I'm breathing, and I don't wake up dead. It's a new me. It genuinely is. I haven't done a New Year's resolution. Because they never work. They just never work.
Yeah.
You know, I keep thinking I'm going to lose weight, you know, but you have to do something about it to lose weight instead of thinking. So that's not going to happen. I just like being me. I just like being different. I just like, again, making my own opportunities. And if I can wake up in the morning thinking, if I do this morning, this might work. That's it, really. I'm sorry to be boring on that subject, but that's it. I've got no new plans other than, you know, carrying on doing what I'm doing and hopefully cracking it finally, so that becomes my full-time career. Because I don't want to retire, and I certainly don't want to work for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I get it. If there was one last point, one last bit of advice you want to put out to what little viewership I have, but you know, I have some, I guess. But
don't say little viewership. Don't put yourself down.
Gotta,
you can't.
You know,
there's enough people out there who's going to do it for you.
Yeah. But if there was one last bit of advice you want to make, what would that be?
Take no. Don't take no for an answer. Seriously, there's so many negative people out there who will laugh at you, who will want to see you fall, who will make you fall. You know, can I say F them? Just get on with it. Don't worry about it. Just seriously, it's their issue, not yours. You'll have the last laugh eventually. And if you're meant to, like the universe, mate, this is what I actually believe in. The universe has a plan for us all. And if you're meant to do it, if you're meant to be doing something, then that door will open at the right time. And whether it's now, 10 years' time, it doesn't matter. If it's your interest, just get on with it. Don't worry about what people say. Seriously. There are enough people out there. As I say, you know, don't knock yourself either, because there's enough people out there to do that for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, no, you hit the nail on the head, and yeah, you can say fuck them, yeah, if you wanted to, but
okay, then fuck them then.
But yeah, man. I mean, I can't agree with you more. The wife, you know, the wife does have some issues, some contention with that attitude, and I say, listen, you're going to get stuck in a box. You know, someone's telling you like, oh, I don't get this, I don't get that. And, you know, to touch upon your advice, and I brought this up on this show a number of times, it's about taking criticism. And I've been criticized that I can't take criticism. And I say, no, I disagree. I can take criticism. Someone tells me there's too much violence and too much foul language in your in your thing. Okay. And then next time they see another thing, still too much violence, too much cuss words. You can't take criticism. No, I took your criticism. I took it in consideration for about a millisecond, and then I disagree. I can take your criticism. I've had people that got criticized, and they're like, "Oh, what the?" And I'm like, "Dude, that's a person that can't take criticism."
Absolutely. But when anyone tells me you can't take criticism, I say, no, that's fine. I accept what you're saying. But there are people out there who can't criticize, and they shut up then, you know, because it's one thing criticizing a person's work, but when it starts coming into personal, and it always does, that's when it becomes an issue for me. So, people have read my stuff all the time, and some people have loved it, some people have hated it, and I've gone, okay, don't know what you want me to say. Let's go for a steak. Let's go to a restaurant and have a steak. Same cut of beef, the same animal. You might like yours, I might like mine. I may not like mine, and you may not like yours. It's luck of the draw, you know. You can't please everybody. So why bother? Why bother? Don't bother. There's an audience for what you're doing. There is an audience, and if it's good enough, it will find that audience. You don't need to do any marketing or audience research or anything like that. Simple as that. Your audience as a writer is a producer and an exec producer. That's it. It's for them to worry about how to sell it.
Yeah. And there's, I don't know if I'm wording this right, but like you kind of touched upon it. You can please some of the people some of the time. You can please some of the people all the time, You can please all the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time.
Absolutely.
And I think that I
I
think that
understand
covers all bases. I think that covers all
but
bases.
why try? Why bother?
But why? Yeah, you know, and you're absolutely right. Listen, I'm successful at doing what I do because I love doing what I do.
Absolutely, and it
And the
shows. It comes across.
and the reason why I'm pumping shit out to the degree that I am is because I do what I want to do. I do what I like to do, and I do what I want to do, and I make it how I want to make it. And I come up with my own kind of formula, my own kind of recipe, my own kind of schedule, and I make what I make the way I want to make it.
Yeah.
How I, you know, based on the things that I've seen that I like and I love to watch, is what I make. You know, people criticize Michael Bay, you know, the filmmaker Michael Bay, Bad Boys, The Island, whatever else, right? And they're like, man, your movies are so immature. And he goes, listen, I make movies that I liked when I was 15, and I make movies for 15-year-old boys because I like those movies and I liked them when I was a 15-year-old boy, and I'm making a shitload of money off of it.
And
Those
his
are the movies.
His mindset is probably of a 15-year-old boy anyway when it comes to films. So you know he makes it successful,
and he's doing well at it. And you know, some critics are like, "Oh, explosions everywhere." It's like, I fucking love explosions in movies.
Yeah, what do they know?
I love shootouts. I love car chases. I love explosions. That's why they're in my movies, because I like those movies.
Exactly. But the thing with critics and reviews, you've got to accept both bad and good.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to accept the bad ones, the good ones, you've got to also accept the bad ones. But you've also got to remember it's just one person's opinion. You know, I read a review about Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Last Action Hero, and because of that review, I didn't go see it. For years, I didn't see it at all. And then it was on Sky TV over here, and I thought, there's nothing on telly, let me watch it. You know, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought, oh, I wish I'd seen it.
Love that movie.
I thought it's the biggest load of shit going, but I thought, you know, it's just an amazing film. And I thought, yeah, I like that. I wish I'd seen it. And since then, I've not really read reviews or critics or anything like that. I just don't do it.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to reviews of films. I like a lot of films that have terrible reviews. And like you said, Last Action Hero, one of my favorites. I mean, an awesome movie.
Oh,
awesome
mate.
Soundtrack. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, going back to like these critiques, you know, there was a movie that came out about 15 years ago called Frailty. It had Bill Paxton and Matthew McConaughey in it. And they were and I don't want to give too much away. It's called Frailty, and it's like a horror vigilante type of movie. Okay. The whole marketing with the trailers, you know how they always show like 3 stars from Roger Ebert or whatever. They only marketed it with reviews and critiques from other filmmakers. Great movie by George A. Romero. Fantastic suspense thriller by Guillermo del Toro. I love this movie so much by Stephen King. Those were the reviews and the critiques that they posted for the marketing by other filmmakers, by other horror writers that get it.
So I mean, see, that's clever because each one of those have got their own different.
I've had family and friends critique something, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. But usually 9 times out of 10, I don't even bother listening to them because if they're not,
it's good, isn't it? It's great, fantastic, loved it.
If they're not a creative, if they're not in the business and if they're not a creative, I'm not interested in what they have to say. But I've had other professionals say this, that, and the other thing, positive or negative. I'll take that more into account because they're in the business. They're also creatives. They're in the business,
and they know what they're looking for.
And they know what they're talking about at least. At least.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, Joe, man, this was a blast. It was like, what is it, hour and a half?
Thanks for the opportunity. I've loved it, mate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on.
No, thanks for letting me. Connect with Tony Klinger on LinkedIn. He'd definitely come on, and he's got so many stories that he could tell you. Seriously, he'd be a really good candidate for one of your interviews. Tony Klinger.
Okay. I'll definitely look into him. Yeah, definitely. Try to pitch him to come on. And but yeah. Before we go, any plugs, links, socials you want to put out there?
I don't do socials. I've only got LinkedIn. Just catch me up on LinkedIn. Have a look at Give Get Go. If you want to get into the industry and you want to learn how to get into the industry, get into that. Have a look at what we've got on offer. And it is face to face with Tony. Tony Klinger is the one that leads this, and he's not a has-been. He's not a wannabe. He's done it. He's been there. He's done everything you can imagine. So he's worked with the best of the best. So you're getting first-hand, one-to-one knowledge on how the film industry works and what you can do to it. There we go. So it's worth having a look at that. And that's about it, really. So Give Get Go, and Joe Sultana on the LinkedIn or through you, really.
Hell yeah, Joe. Well, Joe, I can't thank you enough for coming on all the way from the UK.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for showcasing me. So hopefully get some nice results from across the pond.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, it was a blast having you on. To my viewers, I hope I've earned the privilege of your time and viewership. I know Joe has. And until next time, you know what to do.